especially Pastor Park for hosting this event. I'd also like to thank Mr. and Mrs. Lee for having given us such a welcome and having taken such good care of us since we've been here. And in general, I'd like to thank all the staff that are part of this organization that have made this event as smooth as it could be. They've done an outstanding job, and I think they deserve a big thank you. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about ways to improve educators' communications abilities. When we think about communications, we mostly think about reading, writing, and talking, right? So, but especially when it comes to education, communications goes much beyond that, right? And this discussion we're having this morning is largely going to piggyback on yesterday's presentation. If you remember yesterday, we talked about changing minds, and we talked about, the presenter that presented yesterday morning, I think she did an outstanding job. And she talked about how important it is to be connected in order to change minds, right? So if we're going to change minds through education, that has to be one of our focuses, right? Remaining connected with our target audience. So just as I just said, modern day educators, they have to think outside the box, right? Merely being a great orator and a great writer. Although those are important attributes to have, they're not sufficient in order to remain connected to audiences. And who does our audience tend to be when it comes to educators, right? Our audience tends to be the youth, right? Because we mostly, who do educators focus on the youth, right? So if we're going to educate the youth, it's very important that we maintain connection with them, right? So, and as I just stated, modern day educators that not only have to have adequate writing and oratory skills, but they must also be able to reach their target audience through their usual means of communications. The means of communications that our audience mostly uses. In a way, this is something that Mike Zuckerberg, which I'm sure you all know, has understood, and he applies this principle to perfection, right? He tries to stay connected with you so that he can better communicate with you through advertisers and so forth. And after all, what good does it do to be able to have superior writing and oratory skills if we're not able to reach the audience that our communication is intended to, right? So it's pointless. Okay, so we all know that the youth has a never shortening attention span, and they use very distinct and separate means of communications. If some of us have children at home, we know how difficult it is to capture their attention, right? Even for adults, it's already difficult, let alone with the youth. Everyone is constantly on their phone, so we got to be able to make our audience captive, okay? And what do we need to do in order to have a captive audience? In order to connect with the youth especially, we need to learn to embrace the ever-changing means of communication, right? We need to learn to embrace that. We cannot just say, okay, such channel of communication is just reserved to the youth, and we're not going to use that. To the contrary, we need to embrace the means of communications they already use. Let me tell you something that has stuck to my mind. A couple of years ago, my nephew, who was a teenager, he's still a teenager, but he was a little younger back then, and he was born in the United States. I think at the time he was probably 15 or 16. He was born and raised in the United States. And he was once asked, what's WhatsApp? What's WhatsApp? And his response was, WhatsApp is an app for immigrants, right? So, and we think of WhatsApp as a mainstream app, right? All of us use WhatsApp, but for him, that was an app reserved to a certain segment of the population, right? And when his younger brother was asked about Facebook, he said Facebook was for older people, right? And I'm sure you don't think of those apps as being for older people. How successful do you think you will be at communicating with him through WhatsApp? I think you will be a tall order, right? Because if you try to communicate or to connect with a youth like my nephew who thinks of WhatsApp as an app for older people, I think you will have a very hard time connecting with them, right? He's likely to dismiss you from the start because he doesn't connect with that app, right? So we need to think about what are those apps that the youth uses, and we need to embrace them so we can better connect with them, right? And that's a major step in order to change their mind. And as I stated earlier, this is a perpetual process, right? Because if you think about the app that the youth uses now, it may be Instagram, it may be Snapchat, but a couple of years from now, I'm pretty sure it will be different, right? So we need to be chasing after those means of communication so that we can remain connected with them in hopes of changing their minds. Okay, that's all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Joseph. This time we are going to invite a presenter all the way from the Democratic Republic of Congo. She is a rector of a National Pedagogical University. So please welcome Professor Anastasie Musanga Maponda.
Mesdames et messieurs, distingués invités, chers participantes à ce grand forum mondial, je voudrais vous saluer. Je salue le grand visionnaire qui nous permet de nous retrouver ici, et je salue également les organisatrices et organisateurs de cette rencontre. Je suis Anastasie Musanga de l'Université pédagogique nationale à Kinshasa, une des grandes universités de mon pays avec plus de 25 000 étudiants et plus de 500 professeurs. Je voudrais vous parler du rôle de la famille, de l'école et de la société dans la construction d'un environnement éducatif qui favorise la maîtrise de soi. Comme vous le savez, l'éducation...
il faut interpréter en coréen et puis en anglais. Voilà. 신사숙녀 여러분 안녕하세요. 오늘 포럼에 참석하신 모든 분들과 오늘 포럼 주신 모든 분들께 감사의 말씀을 전합니다. 저는 콩고 국립교육대학교의 총장이며 5천여 명의 교육자를 양성하는 학교를 대표하고 있습니다.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you. Thank you for inviting me to this platform. I am director of the National Pedagogical University from the Democratic Republic of the Congo, where we are in charge of educating over 5,000 educators.
Je disais que l'éducation est un processus qui fait intervenir plusieurs acteurs, parmi lesquels la famille, l'école et la société.
네, 교육은 여러 주체가 참여하는 과정이며 그 중에 가장 결정적인 역할을 하는 것은 가족, 학교, 또 사회적 환경이라고 생각됩니다.
Par
Education is
l'espace-
a process that involves several actors, among which the most decisive are the family, the school, and the social environment in which the religious confession must be included if the person being educated involves in the context of religious beliefs.
Et lorsqu'on parle de la société, on pense notamment à l'État et aux confessions religieuses.
네, 그리고 사회라고 이야기를 했을 때는 정부도 있고요. 그리고 또 종교적인 커뮤니티도 있습니다.
So
Chacun
this
de
includes
ces
the religious communities and social communities as well.
Chacun de ces acteurs joue un rôle spécifique dans le processus de transmission et de l'appropriation de valeurs.
네, 그 각각의 사람들은 가치를 전승하고 또 그 가치를 적용하는 과정에서도 특정한 역할을 가지고 있습니다.
And each of these actors play a specific role in the process of transmission and appropriation of values.
De ces valeurs, il y a notamment la maîtrise de soi.
그 안에서 저희는 자제력에 대해서 이야기를 할 수 있는데요.
Among these values is self-control.
Comment la famille, l'école et le milieu social peuvent-ils contribuer à la culture de la maîtrise de soi chez la personne qui les fréquente?
그러면 저희가 만나는 사람들 중에서 어떻게 가족이나 학교 또 사회 환경이 자제력 문화에 기여를 할 수 있을까요?
The family, the school, and the social environment contribute to the culture of self-control.
Telle est la question à laquelle ma communication voudrait répondre.
그래서 저희는 오늘 소통으로 이 부분에 접근을 하려고 합니다.
And this is the question that our communication would like to answer.
Au fait, dans le premier point, il sera question de montrer comment la famille, l'école et la société sont des instances éducatives, tandis que les seconds montreront le rôle que peuvent jouer les instances dans la construction de l'environnement éducatif qui favorise la maîtrise de soi.
네, 첫 번째로는 가정, 학교, 교육기관으로 사회가 어떻게 교육기관으로 규정을 할 수 있는지, 그리고 두 번째로는 자제력을 키우는 교육 환경을 구축하는 데 있어서 이러한 기관들이 어떤 역할을 할 수 있는지에 대해서 이야기를 하고 싶습니다.
It hinges on 2 points. The first, we're going to identify the family, the school, and society as educational authorities, while in the second, we will show the role that these bodies can play in the construction of an educational environment that promotes self-control.
C'est dans la famille où la famille est le lieu de l'éclosion de la vie humaine.
네, 가족은 가장 중요한 아이의 사회 환경인데요.
As we have said, the family, the school, and the social environment are the main educational bodies.
Le second, qui est l'école, est en fait le lieu de l'encadrement où l'enfant apprend à poursuivre le processus de l'éducation par l'instruction qu'il reçoit.
네, 왜냐하면 가정에서 아이들이 태어나고 자라면서 삶을 시작하는 곳이기 때문인데요.
And it's because the family is where human life begins, and it's where the child is born, grows up, and learns to become a responsible adult.
La troisième instance, qui est la société, regroupe à la fois l'État et les confessions religieuses, mais en même temps le milieu ambiant.
네, 세 번째 교육기관으로서는 우리는 정부 그리고 그 종교 단체에 대해서도 이야기를 할 수가 있습니다. 그 안에서도 아이들은 성인 되는 연구를 배우고 있어요.
And as the third